You are listening to the Examine Life with Bram Levinson. So here we are. We're still here. I wanted to share a couple of stories with you that all carry the same message. They were there, they occurred to teach me the same thing, really. And they're pretty funny. And I'm quite happy to talk about them because even though they don't cast me in the most flattering of lights, I can still see the humor in them. Because, listen, as my mother taught me, if you can't laugh at moments in life, those moments are going to crush you. So, if you've taken classes with me, you may have heard this story before because I did talk about it the week that it happened, and I have referred back to it. But about a year ago, I was at the gym, and I had done my workout, and I was came back into the locker room. I was getting undressed, and I was going to go into the sauna before I went into the shower. And I got everything together, put the towel around me, locked my locker, and as I locked the lock on the locker, I realized that I had forgotten to put my water bottle inside the locker. So I just put it in front of the locker door. I didn't bother opening the locker again and putting it away, and I left it there, and I just figured, it'll be there when I get back. No worries. So I went to the shower, I went to rinse off, and then I go into the sauna. I'm sitting in the sauna, and I'm right by the door of the sauna, and there's this little window in the door. And I see this guy come in for his workout. He's wearing his coat. He's come in from outside, obviously. And he just passes by, whatever, and I didn't think anything of it. And then about a minute later, I see him walk back in towards the gym area. His coat is off. He's in his workout clothes, and he's carrying my bottle. So, cut to me. I'm in the sauna. I am sweating. And, I'm not somebody who typically loves to sweat or to be in a sauna or to, suffer like that. But I really gotten into it at that point in my life. I had felt like it had really helped to boost my immune system. I thought it was really beneficial. So I'm in the sauna, sweating. This guy walks by, and I think, you have got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. So he walks by carrying my bottle, and all of a sudden, this whole thing starts going through my mind, this whole production. Do I leave and run after him? Do I address it immediately? No, I'm not going to address it immediately. I'm not going to let him ruin my moment because I'm having a moment. I'm in the sauna. I'm sweating. I'm digging it. I've done my workout. I'm so proud of myself. I feel good. I'm not going to let him ruin my moment. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to sit in the sauna, and I'm going to enjoy it. For another 10 minutes, I'm going to enjoy it. And right there, when I'm telling myself, this is what I'm going to do, or this is what you're going to do, and you're going to enjoy it, sort of sounds like I'm holding myself hostage. But anyway, so I'm saying to myself, you're going to stay in here for another 10 minutes, and then you're going to go out, and you're going to shower. You're not going to rush. You're not going to let this guy ruin the experience that you authentically would have had. You're going to go back to your locker. You're going to get dressed. You're going to go out into the gym, and you're going to find this guy with your water bottle, and you're going to look at him, and you're going to say to him, don't steal people's shit. And then you're going to take the water bottle back, and you're going to walk out, and you're going to be victorious, and you would have stood up for yourself, and fantastic. So this goes on in my mind for about a minute or two. So, in hindsight, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that sauna if it would have survived the heat, just to be able to see what my facial expressions looked like as all this is going through my mind. Because when I get pensive, it's obvious that I was fully in my mind. Anyway, so I stay in the sauna for another 10 minutes. I probably would have left after 5 or 6, but because I had told myself this is the narrative that you are sticking to, I stuck to it. I'm nothing if not disciplined. And then, I came out and tried not to pass out as I moved to the shower, took my shower, went back to my locker. I get to my locker, And there in front of my locker door is my water bottle. It hasn't moved. This guy obviously had the same water bottle as I did. So, again, I would have paid to have been a fly on the wall in that moment to have seen that look of, oh, just like wash over my face. Because in that moment, a couple of things became blatantly obvious. Number one, I massively jumped to a conclusion. Number two, I have a very generic water bottle. Like, it's not like it's, Swarovski crystal encrusted. Like, it's a metallic water bottle. Really? So, right, this is going through my mind. And then all of a sudden what goes through my mind is, you spent a lot of time conjuring up this entire narrative, this entire storyline, when you had no evidence whatsoever to base this assumption on. And it was true. I had created this entire story of what had happened, what was happening, and what was going to happen based on something that was not true. Now, I can be somewhat of an emotional thinker, if you haven't sussed that out yet. And typically, people who spend a lot of time in the emotional mind are very quick to jump to conclusions. Jumping to conclusions is what we refer to as a cognitive distortion. This is a harmful pattern of thinking that distorts reality for many people. And in that moment, it completely distorted my reality. In fact, it created a reality that was not reality. It was false. It was based in a completely unfounded assumption. So, I took ownership of the assumption that I had made. I acknowledged the fact that I had wasted quite a bit of time in my head when I could have, number one, not been in my head and just enjoyed the moment, and probably not stayed in the sauna for as long as I did and sweated as much as I had. So I left the gym. I had my share of humble pie. I told the story. I let people know that this is what had happened because I just wanted to share that, look, I think we all do this to a certain extent in certain situations. And I know that we all spend an inordinate amount of time in our heads in the abstract, focusing on things that are not. Literally, that never were, that were never going to be. And yet we stay in these stories, these fantastical stories that are not based in any truth. Now, another story that doesn't put me in a hugely flattering light, but one that I'm going to share with you nonetheless, is this. I was leaving the studio where I teach. This is a couple of years ago. And I get around town. Once I live in Montreal, so from March 15th to December 15th, you can use any vehicle on the roads that don't require snow tires. You don't need snow tires between those dates. However, between December 15th and March 15th, you do. I don't own a car. I get around the city on a scooter because it's faster, it's easier, it's a lot less hassle. Parking is just a breeze, and I enjoy it. So, a couple of years ago, many years ago, I'm leaving the studio. I get on my scooter. I'm driving through Old Montreal to get out of it. And in most periods of the year, Old Montreal is just overrun by tourists and bad drivers. And I say that as if I'm a good driver and they're bad. So right there, I think you can pretty much tell that there's a bias here at work. Anyway, so I'm on my scooter and I'm weaving between cars trying to just get home. I'm trying to get home. And by the way, let me sort of interject here. I need yoga when I drive. I need to breathe and stay calm and be connected to my best higher self when I drive, because I just very often feel like people just don't have anywhere to go. Like, you're not trying to get somewhere? It just feels like everybody's going hyper slowly. And it's not like I like to go crazy fast, but, let's go. We're going. Let's go. Anyway, so cut to me. I'm on my scooter. I'm just getting myself out of Old Montreal. And by this time in my scooter driving life, I have enough experience under my belt to have lived moments where, as I was either weaving between cars or getting around people, it has angered other drivers. And I don't know if it angers them because they think that it's being irresponsible. I don't know if it's angered them because I've gotten in front of them. I have no idea. But I mean, I've literally had people try to run me off the road before. People driving like trucks try to run me off the road because I got ahead of them. In any case, I have dealt with this. So my radar is working when I'm on my scooter and I'm doing what I need to do. I'm not being irresponsible. I'm not putting other people in danger, but I'm doing what I need to do in order to get where I need to go. And that's my MO. So I'm on the scooter. I'm just getting out of Old Montreal, which is an accomplishment in itself. And all of a sudden I get to a red light and someone's honking. And I don't want to look back because I don't want to engage. And so as this honking is happening, the light turns green, and in a moment of complete rudeness and complete, how can I put this? Social irresponsibility. I'm taking ownership of this. I want you to know that I'm taking ownership of this. I hear the honking. My light turns green. I lift my right hand and my middle finger is extended. Like it's like a little bit of a, like, I don't need to say it, and I take off, and I'm just like, in my mind, I'm not getting involved. I'm going to keep going. I just want to get home. I'm on the road. I'm almost there. Let's just do this. Cut to, I don't remember if it was later that night or later that week, I hear from a girl I work with. And she says, so I was driving behind you on the road and was honking to try to get your attention so that I could wave at you and say hi, and you gave me the finger. This is a true story. I was so embarrassed, and I was apologetic, trust me. But again, I was jumping to conclusions that were completely unfounded. I apparently have a history of not looking for the evidence that backs up the story that I take to be true. I think that it's important that I'm sharing these stories with you because I think right now, especially right now, where things seem so divisive and conflicting, and people are launching their opinions into the zeitgeist, and nobody seems interested in the harm they are doing. They're just interested in shifting their own tension and potentially their own suffering onto other people so maybe they would feel better. In this moment in time, I think that there's a lot of assumptions that are being made and a lot of opinions that are being launched around based on those assumptions, when those assumptions are not based in truth. They're not based in evidence. In many cases, they're based in fear. In many cases, they're based in prejudice and ignorance. And if people took the time to actually dig deeper and investigate and be responsible about learning about whatever it is, whatever the topic or subjects are that, are influencing their thought patterns and their behavioral patterns, I bet you those thought patterns and those behavioral patterns would change. I bet you if we got face to face with each other and tried to have a discussion along the lines of the stuff that we launch onto Twitter and social media with no thought whatsoever or no care whatsoever, I bet you that it would enlighten us to a point where we would be letting go of old fears, old opinions, old biases, whether, there's fear about other people, other cultures who pray to other gods or who speak different languages or whose skin color isn't the same hue as the one that we have, whether it be about hot topic, red button issues like politics or gender equality or a woman's right to choose what she does with her own damn body, regardless of whatever it is. I think that there's so many people who have so many opinions that are not based in truth. They're based in opinion. And opinion is just that. It's opinion. It isn't necessarily valid on its own if it's used as a weapon. And it definitely, I don't think, is valid on its own when it is based in misinformation and lies and ignorance and hate. I know that the examples that I gave you aren't necessarily horrible examples, but nonetheless, they are examples of how I have shown up in the world in ways that, you know, I could have done better. And so, because I have these experiences under my belt, I try to do better. I try to sort of fall back on these experiences when I find myself in another situation where I feel myself moving towards an extreme behavior. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to show up this way. I'm going to do this because I feel like I'm being pushed into a corner and I don't have a choice. I like to do the homework now. I like to do the research. I like to know what I'm talking about before I show up. I'm taking responsibility and accountability for the trail I leave behind me in this lifetime. And I think that that's something that we could all benefit from doing. I have also learned that sometimes it's great to not say anything if I'm not sure that what I'm saying is 1,000% justified and correct. This has been a massive test for me because I have grown up feeling like if you are going to be valid, you need to have something to offer. And in many cases, that something is an opinion. But what I have learned is way more powerful than having an opinion, is having the ability to restrain myself from getting involved and just let things unfold on their own and not regret having shown up like, for lack of a better term, a dickhead. I don't want to be that. I don't want to do harm. I don't want to leave a trail of chaos in the world. I want to do better. I want to keep making decisions that are better than the previous decisions I've made and keep going in that line, along that trajectory. And so that involves taking ownership of moments where I have had weakness and impulsive thought and action, and falling back on it, reverting back to it, or not reverting back to it, but drawing on it so that I don't do it again. I want you to consider that there are moments in your life where you've done similar things that are easily as laughable in some cases, and maybe there are some instances where it's not laughable. It's so cringeworthy that you would never even share the story. But I want you to look back on your experience to date and ask yourself, what are those moments for you? Ask yourself what you've learned. And ask yourself, if given the opportunity to do things differently, would you? And how would you? Because this gives us somewhat of a map to adhere to when we find ourselves in another situation where things could go horribly awry. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed those stories. Think about all of it, and I'll see you later. This has been the Examine Life with Bram Levinson.